In a Fox Business exclusive this morning, the Commerce Department is announcing that further restricting Chinese telecom giants from access to U.S. technology. It's adding 38 non-U.S. Huawei affiliates to the entity list and imposing license requirements on any export transaction that falls under the Commerce Department's jurisdiction. Joining me now in a Fox Business exclusive, Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross. Secretary, good morning. Let's talk a little bit first about this new announcement and how it's sort of helping us protect national security by being tougher on Huawei.
Well, on May 20th, we issued an order that prevented American technology from being used in Huawei-designed chips. That led them to do some evasive measures. They were going through third parties. They were doing things like having people incorporated into other products. The new rule makes it clear that any use of American software or American fabrication equipment to produce things for Huawei is banned and requires a license. So it's really a question of closing loopholes to prevent a bad actor from access to U.S. technology, even if they try to do it in a very indirect, very tricky manner.
And the president and the administration, including yourself, have made no bones about taking a very tough stance on China. This was as we were negotiating that phase one trade deal. But there are trade talks that are pausing at the moment. U.S. and Chinese officials postponing a meeting to discuss progress on that phase one trade deal. Reports on the delay cite scheduling conflicts, as well as allowing some more time for Chinese purchases of U.S. exports. Reports last week indicated that Chinese officials aim to address the administration's movement on tech companies like TikTok and WeChat as well. Secretary, is there a date on the books for another meeting soon, or have these talks, stalled amid all the issues that we're dealing with China right now?
Well, there's a lot of conversation at various levels all the time. So it is correct that the Chinese have lately been buying a very large amount of agriculture. That's a very good thing. We're very eager to have that continue. So what action we're taking on Huawei is a trade enforcement, an export control enforcement action. It's not really directly related to the trade talks.
The president, of course, taking more action against Chinese tech giants. President Trump indicating on Saturday that he would be willing to put pressure on more Chinese companies, including e-commerce giant Alibaba, after he's made these moves to ban TikTok and WeChat from the United States. Secretary, I'm wondering, does the Commerce Department have any plans to further restrict Alibaba at this time?
Well, right now, we are operating under the president's executive order, which gives us another few weeks to figure out exactly what it is that TikTok will be banned from doing in the event that they don't sell the company to Microsoft or another American producer. So we're very busy with that. There's been no formal proceeding at this moment against Alibaba, so there's really nothing we can comment on that score.
I want to bring the conversation back to some of these restrictions on Huawei and also, the president's taking on China in general and really addressing the issue that we have with 5G and their developments, saying that the United States should be making more progress in this area, that it's about bandwidth and possibly even freeing up some of that bandwidth, when it comes to military operations to make that possible, to pave that way. How do you think that that's going to look as we head into the end of the year?
Well, it is the case that U.S. has devoted more bandwidth already to 5G than any other country, and there are some further auctions planned by the Federal Communications Commission. So we will definitely not be short of bandwidth. Some parts of the band are very good for rapid transmission of limited amounts of data. Others are good for a little bit slower transmission of vast amounts. So bandwidth is not an undifferentiated mass. There are different parts of it that are particularly good at particularly different segments of 5G. But 5G is the target of the new rules that we have put into effect, and those rules will level the playing field so that there's no disadvantage for American software or equipment people relative to the foreigners. Everybody will be on a level playing field. Everybody will be restricted.
And that's the key here, right? Symmetry in the rules so that everybody is playing by the same rule book. And that's the problem that we've had with China for so long. And this is the first president to say, I'm going to actually do something about it. And he is, Secretary.
Well, that's right. The Chinese have been spoiled for decades by American administrations that really took no action. Everyone knew what was going on. Everybody talked about doing something. Only President Trump has acted decisively. And that's true not just with Huawei. It's true with trade in general, trade both with China, trade with other parties. It's true with the relationship of European countries to NATO. The president is curing lots and lots of leftover problems that really should have been dealt with in earlier times, and it would have been easier to deal with them earlier. Once a country's been allowed to run amok for years and years and years, it's a lot harder for us to fix it now, but we've been doing it very systematically, one piece by one piece, and we will continue to do so.
Secretary Wilbur Ross, thank you so much, and thank you for your service. Great to see you this morning.
Thank you, Jackie. Good to be on with you.